Let me open a regular meeting of the City Council of City of Pearland for Monday, August 10th, year 2020. We are conducting this particular session via telephone and video conferencing because of the pandemic. With that information, and we appreciate each and every one of you being here tonight. Moving in our agenda to item 1, which is called order, which I have just done. Item number 2, Councilmember Alondo, would you do the invocation, and Councilmember Perez lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American and Texas flag?
Yes, Mayor. If you'll bow your head with me in prayer. Heavenly Father, as this COVID-19 pandemic continues to sweep across the nation, can you please watch over those in our city and state and country who have been affected by this terrible virus? Please continue to watch over the people who keep this city running, whether that's in the private sector or our city staff, or of course our first responders. And may you fill us with wisdom tonight as we make important decisions that affect the lives of every person in this city. Amen.
Amen.
Will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And to the Texas flag, honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
That is a great way to start a regular meeting of City Council City of Pearland with the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance to our American and Texas flag. That information in the record, let's move to item number 3, which is roll call and certification of a quorum. And we have just had our staff has run, and we have a quorum for tonight, and I certify that, Madam Secretary. Moving in our agenda to item number 4, Councilmember Little, would you handle the citizen comments?
Thank you, Mayor. We have 2 citizens signed up to speak tonight. Both of them are familiar with the rules. State your name, your address. Limit your comments to 3 minutes, please. The first person that I'm calling them in the order I received them, Jimmy Davis.
Yes, and I will definitely try to squeeze in before I signed up to speak on behalf of the water discussion group. Jimmy Davis, 5004 Tonesville Street, Pearland, Texas, 77584. Honorable Mayor and City Council. Today is nearly 4 months since the city adopted the 3230 plan. During the course of the discussions leading up to the adoption, one of the things discussed was the need for ongoing communication. Public need to be made aware of how we are progressing, especially in regards to the possibility of residents being able to pay the amount they owe and being caught up. Something City Council said was going to be required despite staff objections. Some said this needed to stay on the agenda each month until it's resolved. Some suggested less frequent, with the least frequent recommendation being quarterly. Quarterly is every 3 months. Since then, 4 months have passed and not a single word has been mentioned about it. It has not appeared on an agenda. Residents are seeking answers through the Public Information Act. And now the city's telling residents that the system that's used to respond to the requests has crashed. Requests are going months without information being turned over. City says they'll release information by a certain date, then they don't. City appears to be telling residents they don't care, they're not answering our questions, and not giving us information about this debacle they created, even in defiance of the requirements per Texas law. In February, when this started, we were told that the AMI system would be complete by the end of February. Then it was going to be the end of March. In April, we were told hopefully soon. Now we don't even know if it will happen by the end of the year. City staff has said they are telling council, but neither staff nor council are informing the public. Meanwhile, the days behind continue to grow. This month, we reach our pinnacle in delays on billing, 4 months after you pass the solution. The utility doing this has the information today that they could tell each resident how many gallons of water they still owe for to be caught up to the most recent meter reading. People need answers. We need to know how much we owe. And I asked City Council to give staff a deadline to have the calculation done. I believe the end of September is more than generous. I also asked City Council to live up to their word when they said this would continue to be discussed. Put it on agendas. I also point to the new budget that staff have been intended to start charging fees October 1st, 2020. I believe it would be appropriate to extend the moratorium on the fees to the end of this year. I also believe a couple months to pay the amount due for those of us who wish so would be appropriate, and ask council to order it so. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for those comments. The next speaker signed up is Felicia Harris-Haas.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. At the last council meeting, resolution R 2020-136 failed in a 2-4 vote. This was presented as a more than $14 million beautification project on property owned by the state, not Pearland. The 2 council members who voted in favor were Mr. Orlando and Mr. Hernandez. Perhaps it's a coincidence that he also leads an organization charged with the task of beautification in Pearland. I watched the PEDC video, and it was confirmed that this would be the most expensive expenditure on a project in the history of the PEDC, which was created in 1995, yet there was no discussion about the number of primary jobs to be created or promoted from the expenditure. Even if the law allows this, is this the right time or the right amount of money to spend on the beautification project for which there's been little to no consideration given to job creation during this one of the most economic and holistic downturns in history? And while even Pearland is facing record-setting unemployment, well, to consider this question, I submitted a public information act request to both the PEDC and to the city, wanting to review all communications showing support for and opposition against this proposed expenditure. I know from the council meetings there have been no public comments from residents or businesses in favor of this project, and I watched the PEDC meeting and saw none there either. At council meetings and on social media, there have been numerous residents and business owners who have expressed opposition to the extravagant expenditure proposed for this project. And as an example, I'll read an exchange of text messages with one of the business owners in our community and one of the council members, in which the business owner says, "Is planting trees important or helping businesses survive during this downturn? Remind your fellow elected members, they represent the people, not city staff. I can see the headlines now. City staff continues to spend wildly while small businesses are suffering on blink of closing." The PMMD board, I've been informed, has 7 members and only 2 of them reside in Pearland. It's my understanding the board is comprised mainly, if not entirely, of larger business and property owners. While I served on the PEDC, we showed an interest in both large and small businesses' growth and employment in Pearland. What I am seeing now appears to be a lack of regard or an interest in building and supporting the smaller business owners, the businesses that sustain and are the foundation of our community. And what is most troubling perhaps is the perception, if not the reality, that such disregard is unwarranted, since those dollars the small business owners and employers are creating are the very dollars the PEDC is collecting and wanting to spend. If indeed Pearland business owners don't take the risk to market and promote and develop talent in order to sell a good or services, those businesses don't generate revenue, which is the very revenue the PEDC takes for them, is now wanting to sow into the dirt and not back into the businesses that are hurting so badly, and without which the PEDC wouldn't have the funds in the first place. If I were in your shoes, these facts and my loyalties would be to my neighbors who made it possible for the PEDC to have those funds, and would be discussing ways to reinvest those funds back into the very businesses from which they came, not into the dirt, especially not dirt that's not even owned by Pearland. Might I suggest to scale the project back? There's nothing that the PEDC might spend north of $10 million on monuments, trees, and mulch. You've been entrusted to be good stewards of our money, and in light of the way balance and opposition to this project and the absence of support, does it not suggest the people you represent don't agree with staff and are counting on you to represent them and be their voice, the voice of reason and good judgment in this instance? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Haas. Mayor, that completes our citizen comments.
Okay, I appreciate that. Moving in our agenda, item number 5, which is for public hearings, and we have none tonight. Moved to item number 6 was a consent agenda. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem, was there any items to be removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, Mayor, Councilman Owens would like to remove items B, C, I, and J. That's Bravo, Charlie, Indigo, and John.
All right. With that information in the record, Councilmember Londo, as our expert on our consent agenda, would you present this with the exception of B, C, I, and J? Thank you, sir.
Sure, Mayor. Consideration and possible action on the consent agenda items A through J with the exceptions of item B, C, I, and J. So moved.
Second, Little.
Second, Secretary. That motion second on the floor there.
Councilmember Orlando,
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone,
Aye.
Councilmember Little,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Perez,
Aye.
Councilmember Owens. Councilmember Owens? Have we lost Councilmember Owens?
Aye.
Thank you very much. The motion passes 6-0 to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items B, C, I, and J.
B,
Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2020-141. So moved.
okay.
Little.
And the second on the floor for discussions. Staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mayor Council. This is a recommendation for meters to have a stock of those as we go through the next months here. This particular contract is with Badger, which we've been in the process of transitioning towards the new advanced meter infrastructure. With the transition, the initial purchase was included with that, but this will be, as we going back to how it had been when we didn't have the transition, we just need to have a contract with the meter supplier so that we can have these meters in stock. The majority of these are the 5/8 inch meters as described in that table, and recommend your consideration as we go forward. Nothing to add.
Council have any question or comment based on the staff report?
Now, Mayor, this is Woody. I asked it to be pulled to take a look at it. It looks like Badger is a sole source supplier in the United States of that. And we're asking for approval for this year and then for 2 years after that. I don't see how we could change it if there's a sole source. I mean, if they did go up, we'd have to go, the price, we'd have to go with them. Because it's a sole source type meter that we're using there, and that's the only one that handles that in the United States. The other thing on the side for the warranty on there, you got a 10-year warranty, and they said it, if it's non-performing, they will replace it at their sole discretion. So if it's a warranty, so it's not like we'll go in there, pull it out, and change it. It's at their discretion on that. And so I was kind of wondering also why we got 2 years after that on a sole source when the APWA says that it has to be replaced after a 10-year period of time or a million gallons being run through the system in itself. You need to replace it. But I think, is it no cost to us in the future if we do have to replace it, or is it not? I couldn't get that off of when I was reading that, and it's going through the system there and then the new world and for it to go through. But I'm just really concerned about of any kind of thing that you may have to change it out later on? Or what's to stop them to raise the price of the meters if it is a sole source? Who else you going to?
So Member Owens, a couple things. The old school way, been around the system is that you were locked into a particular vendor. We actually have a process with these. We are with the Badgers for these and the initial ones and recommend that going forward. But maybe Trent or Robert, you can talk to the flexibility that we have built into the purchase and then that warranty question. So.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Pearson. Good evening, Mayor and Council. So on the meters themselves, while we, through our contract, when we moved forward with the AMI project, made sure that we had in there that we could go direct to the manufacturer for the meters that were chosen initially for the project. And so instead of going through a middleman or a distributor that marks it up, we're able to go directly to the manufacturer. And so these are the meters that are going in with the AMI project, the Badger meters. There is, however, flexibility built into the technology that we're using for the AMI system, where if we get down the road and there are issues with the Badger and cost and things like that, we can bid out meters and look at other suppliers as well that will work with the overall AMI system. As far as the warranty, that's the exact warranty we have with the AMI project. It's a 10-year, basically, I'll characterize it as bumper to bumper warranty, and then another 10 years on the, that's prorated basically. So it's the same warranty as the AMI where they will get replaced if they fail within the first 10 years and then prorated thereafter.
Okay. Yeah. That was what I was wondering on that. And, but when the American Water Works Association says after 10 years, you need to replace them. And I noticed that some of these are being replaced now that we're going to be doing is replacing them because they are 10 years and beyond that on the areas that we got out there. We're going to be replacing this. So, but it was just the warranty on it, kind of looked kind of one-sided because it says at their discretion, their sole discretion, and as far as changing them out. So, and I guess, Trent, on this, it says this year and then 2 one-year options after that. Is that next year will come out again or what?
So what that allows is that next year we can renew this contract at the same cost or limited to a pricing index increase. And then as far as the, the 10-year thing, these are solid state meters. They're not like the old positive displacement when moving part meters, and therefore, you can have that longer warranty period.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Hey, Trent, this is Councilman Little. It's the bulk of these, the meters we're purchasing for inventory, are they for new development? If we've got a 10-year warranty, I can't see why we would have to replace the ones that we're currently installing.
Yes, sir, that's accurate. So these are basically all for new development because the new meters that are going in with the AMI project are under warranty.
All right, thank you, Trent.
One other thing, Trent, before you leave off, talking about these will be as developers use them, they'll buy them from the city, right?
That's correct. So basically it's a pass through. We purchase these, stock these for new development as it comes in. And then when the developers come in, they pay for the meters to reimburse us for that cost.
Okay, so we'll be going ahead and buying these now and keeping them in stock. Is that right?
We won't buy everything. We'll buy, a number to keep us in stock and then buy them as we move through those.
Okay, because I was kind of wondering, a lot of places, if they come and buy like those, there's going to be needed. They charge whoever they're selling them to a stocking fee for going ahead and buying them now and keeping them on, on location that people can come in to buy them and use them. I didn't know if we offer a stocking fee added to what we paid for them or not.
We keep some on hand, so there's no stocking fee.
Okay. All right.
Since we're talking about AMI, I don't know that under this agenda item would be appropriate, but maybe under a future meeting, if we could get an update on the AMI implementation, as well as how that interplays to the 3230 plan and everything else. I think that would be helpful. As one of the public speakers mentioned, it's been a while since we've had the 3230 kind of in a discussion item.
The question or comment from council? Well, hearing nothing, Madam Secretary, I believe we got a motion and a second on the floor.
Councilmember Orlando,
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone,
Aye.
Councilmember Little,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Perez,
Aye.
Councilmember Owens.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0 to approve Resolution R 2020-141.
In our agenda, item I, Councilmember Orlando.
Mayor, that'll be item C.
That's it. That's,
Item C first, Mayor.
that's,
All
oh,
right.
yes, item C. I flipped my page. Thank you.
Consideration and possible action, resolution number R 2020-142. So moved.
Second, Little.
We have a motion and a second. We're in discussion. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the companion for the same for the components that we use with the same metering system. And this will give us the supply for new installs going forward. Nothing to add.
Okay,
Question or comment based on those comments?
yeah, the only question I had on this one, these are the connections that go into the Badger meter and then they go back into the city, correct? The readings that automatically come into the city of amount of water being transmitted through the, you know.
As we said for months, we've been, once it's fully operational, that will be the case, that it'll transmit. Right now, they're being read old school ways, and that works. But the next iteration will be once the towers are up and the connected grid routers are installed and it's all configured, that'll provide the current reading. So bottom line, the information is going now, and it will go in the future just with the seamless technology.
Okay, because it seemed like that on these that comes directly into New World with the quantity of water and
it's downloaded into the New World system.
The what?
It's downloaded into our New World system.
Okay, and that was one of the questions I had too on New World. Have we got that satisfied? It seemed like we've had several problems with New World over the period of time in our water, and I didn't know if we had somebody to come in and do some different training at New World into the city or whatever, but it seems like a lot of our problems in the water has been with New World.
No, we've shared there's been additional training and so forth, but no, that's all been being worked through.
Okay. All right. Well, that's what I was wanting to find out. Thank you.
Any other question or comment from council? Madam Secretary, where are you at? Motion second on the floor.
Member Orlando,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Little,
Aye.
Member Hernandez,
Aye.
Member Perez,
Aye.
Member Owens.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0 to approve resolution number R 2020-142.
Okay, Councilmember Orlando, move out to item I.
Item I, consideration and possible action of the appointment of Amit Joshi to serve on the library board. So moved.
Little.
Have a motion second on the floor. Staff report.
This is the council's decision. You've got a committee, longstanding practice that reviews those, and for these particular boards, that comes to you as a ratification. So nothing to add.
Yeah. One of the decisions that was made several years ago by the council was to establish a council non-policy boards and commission committee, which consists of the mayor, the mayor pro tem, and the immediate past mayor pro tem to make a decision on these non-policy ones. Now, if it's a policy one, where they make decisions or that has to be handled through the council only, but this was a special committee to accelerate. And we've made some good decisions on some good items and some good people for, and it'll be also on the next agenda item too, so.
Mayor, the reason I asked those to be pulled, and it may be just a problem with them, but both of the resumes in there and the information they sent in on each of these, you have to be a voter, and each one of them marked no on those. And I don't know if that was just a correction that needs to be changed, but that's part of it. In order to, they have to be a voter at the time that you're appointed to these positions. And on I and J both, if you look at it, they both checked no. So if that's true, then we can't appoint them to there because they're not registered voters as it is when you make an appointment. It may be a problem since both of them are that way.
I believe we'll check yes on those, Madam Secretary.
Mayor, if I can get a moment, I will double check the voting records.
So, Mr. Mayor, if
both of them, Crystal, that they checked the mark off as no, and that might have been, they were thinking they were doing it on yes. I'm not saying that they didn't vote, but they may have just checked the wrong one, and both of them did that on I and J.
And they were both considered by the committee. This consists of our fine, we had Councilmember Little, Councilmember Perez, and myself.
I think it makes sense with that. I mean, that's a valid question, Woody, and instead of putting the city secretary on the spot, I'll make a motion that we postpone this till the next meeting, and that way it gives time for us to clarify with both these applicants.
Good job. Good.
If I may join the conversation, please. So for the CVB, and I know we're not on that yet, but it was brought up during this item. It just has to be a business in the community, and he is the owner of the business that's in the community. So that's in accordance with the bylaws. I cannot speak about the library board.
Yeah, John, I know that, but the only reason that I did bring up that item J is because both of them, I and J, they checked no on it as a voter. So I don't know if that's just something, one of those missed deals that they checked the wrong box and wasn't thinking about it. But that's the only reason I mentioned both of them.
We can check that and put on the next agenda. It's not a rush item.
Okay. Motion and second postpone I, and we'll get on to the next meeting, and we'll get the city secretary an opportunity to.
The mayor will move those to the next agenda.
No, Mayor Reed, we will need to, there's a motion and a second to postpone I right now, so we need to take action on that.
Member Carbone, can we amend the motion to include item J, and we'll just punt both of them to the next meeting?
Well, since we've got a motion and a second, I think we should go ahead and take the action on I, and then we can move on to J.
Item I, you want to move it to the next agenda?
No.
Mayor
Reed, there is a motion and a second to postpone item I to the next meeting. So we need to take action on that.
We need to vote on that one, Mayor.
Okay. Secretary, we've got a motion second on the floor here. Let's get a motion. Let's get it read out.
Okay, Councilmember Orlando,
redefine what we're doing. We're moving into the next agenda.
Yes, sir. This item is to postpone agenda item, consent item I to the August 24th City Council regular meeting.
Okay.
Councilmember Orlando,
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone,
Aye.
Councilmember Little,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Perez, Member Perez,
Aye.
and Member Owens.
Aye.
The motion to postpone is approved 6-0.
Moving to item, I'm sorry. Now moving to item number J. Councilmember Orlando.
Consideration and possible action on item number J. So moved.
I make a motion, we put this on the August 24th regular council meeting to reconsider.
We have a motion
Second, Hernandez.
and a second. Any discussion on that item before we move to,
Darren, do we need to clarify since we didn't actually specify the item in the motion to postpone?
yeah,
It's item, it was read into the record as item J, so we should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
We need to vote, Mayor.
okay. Madam Secretary, I believe we got a motion second on the floor. We do have motion second on the floor, Councilman.
Sir, Councilmember Orlando,
Aye.
Councilmember Carbone,
Aye.
Councilmember Little,
Aye.
Councilmember Hernandez,
Aye.
Councilmember Perez,
Aye.
Councilmember Owens.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0 to postpone item J on the consent agenda to the August 24th City Council regular meeting.
Okay. Moving in our agenda to item number 7, which is matters removed from the consent agenda, because we had 4 of those. Moving to item number 8, which is new business. Councilmember Carbone, would you present item number 1 for our consideration?
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, Resolution R 2020-144. So moved.
Second, this is Little.
Remember, it's not on my screen here yet. Matters removed from the consent agenda. Now we need to, but it is 2020-144.
Yeah. Joshua, can you roll it up?
We have a motion and a second.
It's Dan that's controlling this.
Yeah, is there a staff report on this item?
So, Mayor, Council, item 1, Resolution 2020-144 is calling the election. This will be for the November election, and we'll be coordinating with Brazoria, Fort Bend, and Harris County. As mentioned in the write-up, we'll be bringing you separately a intergovernmental agreement with Fort Bend and Harris that'll streamline that. And as a November election, it creates a unique circumstance where without some extra help from those entities, voters potentially would have to go to 2 different places, but we're working through that and we'll have it in place in time before the election. But this particular action is for calling the election itself. Nothing to add.
Any council discussion?
I was a little impressed with the idea that we would also take a vote. This would resolve an issue on our charter, which is part of the material in our packet. And the Charter Commission, the results of the Charter Commission, and so we have a motion second on the floor here, right?
We need a council discussion, Mayor.
Okay. We did have staff report on that item.
It looks like we have no council discussion, Mayor. We can vote.
Okay. Madam Secretary?
Member Carbone?
Aye.
Member Little?
Aye.
Member Hernandez?
Aye.
Member Perez?
Aye.
Member Owens?
Aye.
Member Orlando?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0 to approve, adopt resolution number R 2020-144.
The item number 2 on our new business item, Councilmember Little.
Thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action, first reading of ordinance number 2000T-32. So moved.
Motion second. We're in discussion. Staff report.
So this is an agenda item for first reading, and this is a series of relatively straightforward UDC amendments, but there is also some information there about trying to provide provision for banners on private property. This does not affect the public rights of way. That's a different topic. And then also some of the uses for housing units. So Mr. McDonald's going to walk you through that.
Good evening. What you have before you, let me pull this up. This ordinance contains proposed amendments to the UDC that were originally brought forward to the Planning and Zoning Commission for review in July. July 20th, the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Council had a joint public hearing to discuss and review these items. And later that night, on the 20th, the Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval of the amendments with a vote of 5-0. So it's mostly a cleanup document, changing titles based on work being reassigned. For example, trees and landscaping moved from parks to community development about 1.5 years ago. So there's some replacement of director titles. The city engineer replacing director of engineering, director of community development replacing reference director of planning. Clarifying language on what is a dwelling unit. This is something that staff has interpreted in the past. And just to clarify, based on some challenges we've had, we've asked to include this in the EDC. And then clarifying banner sign regulations by taking out a permit fee reference, and then allowing banners within public educational facilities or campuses in the parking lots. So nothing too major right now, just some cleanup documents. That's all I have, Mayor.
Staff have any question or comment based on staff report? The council have any at this point? That was some good changes. I like those. Council have any question or comment? Hearing none. I'm sorry.
I think we're ready, Mayor.
Okay. Madam Secretary, I believe we got a motion second on the floor.
Member Little?
Aye.
Member Hernandez?
Aye. Aye.
Member Perez?
Aye.
Member Owens?
Aye.
Member Orlando?
Aye.
And Member Carbone?
Aye.
The motion passes 6-0 to adopt, to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2000T-32.
Okay, moving to item number 3, Councilman Hernandez.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Consideration and possible action resolution number R 2020-125. So moved.
Second, Little.
Motion and a second. We're in discussion. Staff report.
Yes, sir. Part of being a growing city and a modern city is that we have to have infrastructure, water and wastewater there with sufficient capacity and meeting all of the current regulations. So as part of that, we identified years ago the need to begin planning for expansion of the Berry Rose Water Reclamation Facility that's on Magnolia Parkway. As part of the John Hargrove Environmental Center property. So this particular plant served well, but needs to be expanded and upgraded. As the write-up describes, the project is complex, both for what it would be normally, but we're also bringing some of the collection basins into this facility. We're going through a process to decommission a plant, try to decrease the number of physical plants that we have to own and maintain, and getting one of them at least out of the floodways. So the Berry Rose project's been on the CIP that council's adopted and seen several times. You've seen the preliminary engineering work, and we're to the point now where we're able to recommend going forward with the construction manager at risk process. The council should be familiar with that by now. It's been a proven positive win-win, and through that evaluation process, recommending going forward with McCarthy Building Companies for this particular work. They'll be doing substantial work coming alongside us. That's why we need this contract for the next one. And that gets the ball rolling for much larger work, but this gives them the confidence that they can move forward and make the investment of time and effort to do what's needed to get going on this. So we'll be coming to you lately with that guaranteed maximum price. And once we have gone through the next phase with McCarthy's. So for your consideration here.
Clay, just a historical point on this item, but back in 1967 through 1973, that used to be the only place where we could go to have picnics and gatherings. We're going to have a couple of, it was in process then, of course, but that was a sort of a gathering place at the new parks. So I'm glad to see we're making it up. So we have a staff report, and council, any question, comment on based on the staff report?
Mayor,
Just for clarification, so this this contract gets us to 90% drawings and the GMP, at which point we'll get a new contract to carry with McCarthy to go through construction services at the GMP, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Question? Council?
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, I believe we got a.
Oh, wait a minute, Mayor. I got a question.
Oh, got a question.
Yeah, I got a question. This is for the pre-construction services. But if you go to page 13 of 129, it asks for the approval of the construction services, which is 1.1 million, but also 6% for the other part of it, it's asking for that also, and that's not, as I see it, it's not part of this. It's after they get through with the construction services on the ingoing construction management side, and they're asking 6% on that to be approved at this time.
So it is in the title exactly, but that law puts that in, but the amount on which they'd get that 6% will be what will be determined down the road. But that gives them the knowledge that going into this, that working with us, they'll be able to make 6% on that, and that's the same process we've had on the other CMAR contracts.
No, Clay, what I'm saying, this is a contract for pre-construction services. After you go into construction, you're going to bring them on again for managing the construction, and they're asking for 6% to be approved with this item here, added to that. And like I say, if you go to, let's see, do it or not, it's on page 13 of 129. So, I mean, I don't have any problem with approving this, but when you go to the second line, you're asking also for the approval of the construction management side of it, which is not part of this contract.
Member Owens, as we've done on all the CMAR contracts, we have locked in that CMAR percentage at this point, along with the pre-construction services. But as Mr. Pearson stated, the actual guaranteed maximum price is determined as we move through the design and approach 100% of the design, and they actually bid the work out. So the resolution itself does include authorizing the pre-construction services, as well as authorizing the 6% on the actual GMP once we get to that point. Now, the GMP does have to come back before the council to amend this contract and add the GMP back into this contract. So that will come back before you before the GMP is established.
Well, the thing about it, Trent, I understand where you're at on the pre-construction services, but you hadn't got to that point yet, but you're also asking for a 6% for the management side of the construction contract. You got two different things if you go to that page and look at it. I mean,
yes, sir, that's correct. And that's what the resolution associated with this item reflects.
Yeah. Brent, is there a reason why the 6% is not negotiated or rather approved at the time of the guaranteed maximum price being established?
We solicit those up front to be evaluated along with all of the other factors, cost and qualification factors of the CMAR firms as part of the selection process for the CMARs. And then basically you get to lock that number in at this point. If we were to not lock that in at this point and we work through the design process with them through the pre-construction services and got to the point of establishing the GMP and then had to negotiate that at that point, and we expected it to be 6% and they expected it to be 8%, then I think it would make negotiating that final GMP that much more difficult.
I see. Okay. I appreciate that.
It's part of the, the part of the competitive piece of the selection process along with the qualifications.
And Trent, just for clarification, once they issue the GMP and they tell us the value and they build in 6% profit in that value, if you exceed the amount that they quoted, it would eat into their profit, correct? They wouldn't come back and say, we're getting an extra 6%. If the overruns are a cost of them underbidding.
That's correct. They'll get 6% of what we set the GMP at, and if they overrun that GMP, they would get an additional 6%.
So in this case,
anybody on the line now from McCarthy?
Risk in this agreement than we do. We set the price, and they have to make that price work in order to turn a profit.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Well, the only thing I'm saying, if you go in and look at, you're asking for approval on two different things. You're asking approval on a pre-construction contract at 1.1 million, and then at the same time, you're asking on construction services after you've gotten to the point of the maximum contract and somebody to come in and manage the construction. So you got that also. So there's two different things you're asking for.
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Is anybody on the line from McCarthy?
I believe they're in the meeting. I do not know if we can bring them in.
If you can give me a name, Trent, I can try to unmute somebody.
Any other comment for council?
Or Robert?
Yeah, I don't.
Robert, do you have the name of the rep from McCarthy that would be on the line?
I know they're listening on the web. I'm not sure if they've called in to be able to put them online.
Let me see if I can get, I have one call-in user. Call-in user 832-656 phone number. Can you identify yourself? Okay, it should be Christian Annex. Yeah, it doesn't look like they're in the meeting, just listening through on the live stream. So they're not in the meeting. They couldn't be unmuted to speak.
Well, there's no sense of waiting if they're not on there, but I would appreciate it if somebody's going to get $1 million contract from us, if they at least have the decency, to be a part of the video. If any questions, and I'm sure, like we said previously, that staff can probably answer these questions. You probably can, but the contract is not with the staff. The contract was with the contractor. So there's no sense of waiting. If they're not there, they're not there.
Question by council at this point. Well,
Time to vote, Mayor.
okay. Don't have any comments? Okay, Madam Secretary.
Member Owens,
I'm going to vote no because nobody's there from the company, and I'd certainly like to appreciate if they're getting that kind of money from us, that they at least care enough to be at the meeting.
Member Owens,
No.
He voted no.
okay, that was Member Owens.
Yes, Owens, right.
Thank you. Member Orlando,
Aye.
Member Carbone,
No.
Member Little,
No.
Member Hernandez,
Aye.
Member Perez.
Aye.
We do have a tie, 3-4 and 3 against. Mayor?
I'm for it.
The motion passes 4-3 to adopt resolution number R 2020-125.
With that locked up, let's move to item number 4, which is, Rez, you're inside out of the wind. Let's, why don't you take care of item 4?
Yes, sir. Plug in because my iPad just couldn't take the heat. So consideration and possible action. There's not a resolution number on here. Rejection of all competitive seal proposals submitted to PEDC, State Highway 288 Master Plan Improvements Phase 4 project, and provide direction to staff on how to proceed to rebid. So moved.
Second.
I heard some kick. What was that for?
Second.
So, Mayor and Council, this is a council requested item. We did have a recommendation for consideration for phase 4 of the beautification of State Highway 288. The phase 4 is obviously the run up and completion of a lot of prior council actions and reviews and budgeting. So staff was fulfilling those prior council actions and bringing that forward. How that was solicited was with a competitive seal proposals. We went through the solicitation process and qualified and then interviewed per the state statute, negotiated with the leading firm and brought that. Council did at that time reject that. So as I understand it, council wanted to clarify the direction going forward for how to proceed, because it was obviously desire to, with this opportunity to complete the work, but how we go about that and which contractor was the question. So really leave it then to the council members who brought this forward, and we'll be standing by for questions.
Okay, Mayor, I brought this item forward at the conclusion of the last meeting where we had this item on the agenda. I just felt as though we didn't have their clarification necessary for staff to proceed. And I think there was also discussion on us actually formally rejecting all of the competitive sealed proposals regarding this project. So I brought it back for consideration. I believe the motion on the floor is actually to formally reject the competitive sealed proposals that were submitted for the 288 Master Plan Improvements Phase 4 project. So that's where we are, and I believe there are some other members who would like to give their input on this particular item before we take a vote. So I'll just leave it at that and see if anyone wants to speak on it.
Sure, I'll speak. One, I would say my personal opinion is I thought we had pretty clear direction. We did reject the proposals. As of right now, we've not communicated to Millis, but I would like us to stay on that path, reject all the proposals, reject all the bids, and then send it out to rebid with lowest responsible bidder. as the path forward, and then communicate that to all those who bid and invite them to rebid when that gets reissued. I think I'd also like to address a couple of the things that were stated earlier. I don't think the member who was essentially accused has any nefarious dealings associated with his employment and this contract moving forward. I think the notion of that is just ridiculous. This project has been on the books for longer than I remember as part of the Pearland 2020 plan. It's been discussed, it's been approved, it's been asked to move forward, design has been approved, other phases have been approved. This is just the most current phase, and while it is expensive, it is something that we put a lot of energy and motion into, and stopping now is not something that I would be in favor of, nor do I think it's makes us good stewards of the taxpayers' money to take a project, get it about 2/3 of the way through, and then cut it off when we've already spent a lot of money on this. Now, there may be some debate on the ROI, but I think the ROI is there, and I've communicated that to those few people who have issued concerns to me. This beautification project will allow other businesses and developers to want to invest in our corridor, which is exactly what we're trying to do. So can you state, hey, $14 million is definitely going to have a $15 million return? There's no way to truly calculate that, but I suspect that we'll see a return much greater than that, and that's why I think this is a worthy investment. I wish the cost was a little lower, but it's a competitive bid. We approved the design. Like I said, I just want to make sure that the bid that we get is the best possible value. That's the concern I had before. That's why I really wanted to reject the bids and rebid. But the project does need to move forward, in my opinion.
I appreciate those remarks from Member Perez. I would just say there's been a lot made about what businesses are feeling right now, and just wanted to remind everyone that this is the long-term maintenance for this. Unlike most other things in the city that we pay for or somebody else pays for, and then we have to maintain it forever. This is one of those rare opportunities where the PDC is going to pay for this, and then it's going to be permanently maintained by the Pearland Municipal Management District number 2 that agreed to assess a tax on themselves in order to fund this needed development. And so we have a letter from them in our packet here that says, as you know, the district has agreed to maintain the improvements after completion, so the quality of the contractor selected to ensure the improvements can be efficiently well maintained is important to the district. After discussions of the options for proceeding to award the contract for construction, the board concurred to request that the city re-advertise to receive competitive sealed proposals. So the people who are going to be footing the bill indefinitely to maintain this, and who assessed the tax on themselves and who initiated this in the first place, have asked and have indicated that in order to get a quality product, they think it's important to do a competitive sealed proposal. So I think that's important. And then I'll just add, also going through the packet, I see we have $20,000 additional cost that it's going to take to rebid this, $151,000 for our plants to sit in a warehouse just on vacation, pretty much waiting to go into the ground. And then the potential to add another $400,000 to $600,000 for construction management and inspection, depending on the outcome of that bid. So fundamentally, by rejecting this bid, we take on guaranteed future costs for possible future savings that are not guaranteed. But we know we're taking on the costs up front. And so to me, I think the most responsible thing is to go back to Millis one more time and see what they can do, if there's anything that they can, obviously, I think our body has made it very clear that we are cost conscious here. At the same time, we have to balance the consideration of the people maintaining this district and what they think is appropriate, given that they're maintaining it indefinitely, and that it achieves the need and the state purpose that we've been working towards for all these years. And so I would like to go back one more time before we cancel it and see if there's any additional savings opportunities, and that would be my preference. So.
I would just argue that I don't think that's fair to Millis, and we can do that after we've selected the contractor to continue to negotiate the price down. We can actually revisit the scope and pull items from it. For instance, we could pull all the monument signs if we wish to move forward with that if we wish at some point in the future. But I think we've already taken action to reject the bids. And you know, it's right now it's just a matter of what we're getting to have the appropriate or clear enough direction about how we want it to be rebid. But I think our ability to negotiate with Millis is was terminated at the last meeting. You know, at this point, we might have a legal ability to go negotiate with Boyer if we wish, but I think at this point, the most appropriate action to deal with the concerns that were brought up by the members who voted for rejecting the bid is to send it to rebid and make sure that what's presented to us appears to be an apples to apples comparison. Because that was the concern, that we did go to Millis and ask them to negotiate down, and what was presented to us is a negotiated price versus a bid price, and that was the concern that I had. I didn't see that it was apples to apples. I think we owe the citizens an opportunity to make sure that we're getting the best possible value. And sure, it's a risk. I think it's a low risk, and I don't think housing a couple of trees in a bucket for another month or two is really gonna be a project buster. That's not really gonna affect us. It's not gonna. It probably won't even come out of contingency. So I think it's just a matter of what direction we give staff at this point.
If I can chime in, so I mean, I feel like we're in a slippery slope. We had a 4-2 vote last time. We told staff to reject bids and go lowest responsible bidder, and now we're sitting here a week or two later rehashing the same stuff. I don't get it. And I mean, is that staff's plan? If council goes against them, maybe they hold out, don't follow through with council direction and see if they can get the right bids next time. I mean, I'm perplexed on why we're here. There was clear direction last time, and I feel like we're rehashing this, and it's frustrating as all get out.
So just to clarify, we're ready to go from last time, so we didn't ask for this.
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, I guess from now on, if we reject bids, let's get notice pushed out so we're not having to rehash this. We're wasting everybody's time. The vote's already occurred, and I don't know. It's very frustrating.
I agree. I thought the thing had been voted on. I thought the clarification we got from Darren on how we were moving forward was crystal clear. And I was kind of surprised to see this back on the agenda. We voted. We can give staff some direction. But again, I'm not sure why we're back discussing this either.
Let's just add a deference to the two members that thought we needed more direction to staff. Trent, if you could chime in and let us know whether you feel like you have clear enough direction from the last meeting, or if there's anything you would like us to clarify.
Hey, Trent, this is Woody. From the beginning of this, it was a low bid type thing, but evidently, from what I see, that the second low bid, somebody got there and negotiated with them, got the price down. Now, is that what the problem is, that they took it and negotiated the price down? I mean,
no offense, Woody, but you can watch. I mean, we hashed this out for hours at the last meeting, and are we really going to open this can up again?
Well, the only thing I say on there, if you're going to go out and rebid it again, if the PNC came in and said, okay, well, the sodding is too much, just come in and we'll do hydromulching, cut the price down on it. And if you're going to go out again, I would tell you to put the bid package together, but put the things that was taken out of it as an alternate bid. If you want to bid that way. And if you don't, bid the other way.
Yeah, I believe that's the direction we gave Woody in the meeting prior to put add-ons for the things that we decided we may not want to pay for.
Yeah, because what I gathered in the first.
The action was already taken to reject the bids. The only issue, again, out of deference to the members that brought it up, is the staff.
I think that there was some confusion maybe as to whether or not the action that we took rejected all of the bids. And that's one of the points where I wanted to provide clarification, because it was my understanding that we rejected the Millis bid and that we had to formally reject all of the bids. And then I think there was also, I could be mistaken, but I heard, different people say different things if we were doing the lowest responsible bidder or competitive sealed proposal again. And now that we've got information from PMMD2 asking specifically the people who are going to be maintaining this, that we move forward with CSP, I think that's worthy of consideration as well. So I think, we're back here for those two specific reasons to provide, the reasoning behind this being an item.
Let's let staff respond and find out whether there's any lack of clarity on their end.
I'll say, don't put us in the middle, because there was the discussion last time. Mr. Coker sent out the note that provided, what our best understanding was, and we were ready to move forward on that. So
yeah, I would say go pull the transcript on that. I mean, it was alternatively both said rebid it out as lowest cost and rebid it out as another competitive sealed proposal. So I mean, that's go pull the transcripts, but go pull the video, but that would be indisputable that there was a crosstalk there.
Those are the same thing. A competitive sealed proposal gets you to the low bidder.
I understand those as two vastly different processes. Am I misunderstanding something?
They have to be submitted as a competitive seal. That means a competitive seal proposal, which means they put the proposal in a sealed document submitted to the city. They are open publicly, and we choose the one that is the lowest bid.
Our packet seems to make a distinction between the two as well. If we could get some guidance from that from staff.
Yeah, and this is Darren, and I'll let Trent weigh in as well, or on that process. But this was done as an alternative to traditional lowest responsible bidding process, and it's under Chapter 2269 of the government code, not local government code. What it does is once you take through the initial phase, you take the competitive proposals and you are actually you've weighted them and you've scored them and ranked them according to your criteria. Once that's done, you go to the highest scoring one. It may not be the lowest response. It may not be the lowest bid, but it's the highest ranking score based upon your weighted criteria. And then under that statute, then you go and you negotiate with that bidder. It may not be the lowest cost, but it's the one that was the highest rated. You negotiate with them, and then if you cannot reach an agreement, then you have to notify them in writing that you are going to end negotiations with them, and then you can move on to the next one, the second highest. It's my understanding that there were really, out of all the competitive seal proposals in this process, there were really only two worthy of that we would even want to discuss with, but you can't discuss with two at once, and it does not necessarily result in the lowest responsible bid price. And so that it is distinctly different from a lowest responsible bidder process that's under Chapter 252 of the local government code. Trent, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Thank you, Darren. I think, the only thing I'd add is in lowest responsible bidder, while they submit sealed bids, really the prime consideration in those is price alone. We do look at safety record and whether or not the firm has the financial capacity to carry forth the project and make sure they do not have any other, issues in their background that indicate they may not or cannot finish the project. But in lowest responsible bidder, it is basically solely price that's evaluated versus the competitive seal proposal that looks at the published criteria, which can be qualifications along with price and other considerations.
Yeah, that distinction, I'm wholly against moving forward with just lowest responsible bidder. and, you know, looking solely at price and, you know, safety record. I mean, this is a project, again, I think we've established that it is a large price tag, and I think we deserve to have a firm that has the specialization necessary to give us the, you know, intended product, the work product. So I think there was some confusion there, and I would feel more comfortable moving forward with competitive sealed proposal process if we were to formally reject all of the bids. And again, going back to the letter that was submitted on behalf of PMMD2, I mean, they have very similar concerns as well. So just based on the level of expertise, I know also looking at the other projects in Clark Condon's portfolio and the contractor that was attached to some of those being on the proposal that we formally rejected. I think, again, it requires a level of specialization that I'm just uncomfortable saying, okay, we're just going to give to the person that can financially handle the project.
That wasn't said in.
Come in, you take a look at it. If you
what we discussed is that it didn't have apples comparison.
That's one thing, but
and
if
the contract
and go to the second low bid and do things with them in order for them to be low bid, then the actual low bidder, I think, would have some kind of legal stance to come in and say, hey, I was low bid, but you went to the second low bid and you negotiated things out, and you didn't give me an opportunity to negotiate anything out.
Remember, Owens, there were zero challenges with that. It was a competitive seal proposals. The highest scored one was negotiated with, and that's all perfectly done. So the process, and there's no problems with how that prior competitive seal proposals follow the process.
So if we're asking you to go reject the bids and go back to another competitive seal proposal, do the exact same process again, just present to us a price that has not been negotiated so we can see apples to apples, does that seem in line with what we had voted on in the last meeting?
No, the summary we got from legal that outlines the 3 steps with the final step being rebid as the lowest responsible bidder, that's what was passed last time, and that's how I propose we still move forward.
Well, if you're going to rebid it, whatever the low bid came out and you negotiated things out of it, if you go in and rebid it, just put it back out and put those as alternatives. You know, you can bid this way or you can bid that way.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Woody, that we hit last time, was if that would have been done to begin with, we wouldn't be in this mess.
Yeah.
All right, so Darren, what do we do? If you think that there's lack of clarity, then what do we need to do here?
Well, let's just first of all take a step back and look at the last meeting and the action that was actually voted on. The item that was voted on, we tried to seek some clarity through the discussion as to what council would like to do moving forward, but we were to some extent bound to vote on the item as it was presented on the agenda. That item was to award a competitive seal proposal to Millis in the amount of, I think, $14.1 million. That action failed. Okay, so the action to award that particular competitive seal proposal failed. There was discussion from council members as far as terminating or ending the discussions, but and that was going to be providing some direction to staff to move forward, saying, okay, if it looks like council doesn't want to continue on with this process, then we can notify the participants in that competitive seal proposal process. Whenever I then reached out to council to get clarification the next day, obviously from that and then communications with staff, there just seemed to be a lack of clarity on the path forward based on some feedback I was getting from council. And so obviously, hence this particular item. So if the council desires to go ahead, there's a motion on the table right now to reject all the competitive seal proposals. And if that's the case, then the council would need to vote on that. But before doing so, I would think it would be wise to come up with a consensus on the second step to that, and that is how to rebid And if that's going to be either with a competitive still proposal with different weighted criteria, or if that's going to end up being through a lowest responsible bidder process, which is pretty much cost factor consideration only. So I think, we have a motion on the table, which we'll need to take action on and then get some direction on how y'all would like to bid.
Darren, if you don't mind, I want to add like one other thing kind of to address the comments on in the ad alternates. And as we put in the agenda request, obviously the hydromulch versus sod, that can be done as an add or deductive alternate. And we can do the same thing with the maintenance cost. One of the other large items that was negotiated in the contract had to do with the stone loss in the building of the monuments. And that basically goes through a shop drawing submittal process where the contractor provides the signed sealed drawings on that. And so Millets was going to provide, the cost reduction there with intent that they would be able to go redesign those that would be satisfactory and approved by our engineers and our landscape architects to actually make those cost reductions. So that's something that that's not easy to go rebid as an alternate in this project because basically the detailed design of that comes from the contractor through the shop process. So just wanted to clarify what we can and can't easily go back out and bid as ad alternates that were major cost drivers in the last negotiation.
Yeah, but we can include some instruction in the bid documents so that they understand, what their responsibilities are and what they are bidding, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's just do that.
And
Darren, do we legally have to reject all the bids before we can move forward with another bid request?
Besides Millis, I'm sorry, make sure that I'm on here. Yes, if we want to negotiate with somebody other than Millis, we would need to formally notify them in writing that we are terminating negotiations, and then we would have the right to negotiate with somebody else. At the same time, are we required to approach somebody else to negotiate? The answer to that is no.
Okay, but your plan was to notify the other companies anyway that we weren't moving forward. Is that correct?
Based on the discussion that night, and again, that was not a formal action taken by council. That was in the discussion. There appeared to be a majority, I think, that I interpreted that did not want to move forward, which is why I sent out the email to seek clarification, and then started getting some different feedback.
All right, thank you.
Darren, can you speak to as a CSP process, as far as that's concerned, that there are ways that potentially we could move forward with that and give additional weight to cost?
Yes, and again, I know that Robert and Trent are much more experts at this than I am when it comes to criteria. But yes, when you do a CSP and you establish your scoring criteria, you establish, there may be a variety of factors that you score. Most notably, of course, you're going to do your cost factors. You're also going to weigh out their experience with similar type projects and different things of that nature. And I think there's a lot of discussion about that last time. And it's how you weight those scoring factors that will ultimately determine the score and who you end up entering into negotiations with as the highest score. So ultimately, if the council wanted to give greater weight to something than we did the first time out, then that's something you could provide clarification on. If we were to, for instance, reject all of these CSPs and then go out and do a new one, and you wanted to use different criteria, scoring criteria, then you could do that and give more weight to a different category than we did in the first round.
Right, because I mean, obviously, I'm in the minority here, but if there's an opportunity to find a compromise, I would like to see if we can reach that.
I don't want us getting in the weeds about how we weight the scores. I trust staff to make a sound decision. Again, my my concern, and I think I summarized the concerns of the other members that wanted to reject this, was that there was a clear issue between the numbers that were presented to us. There was a $1.6 million difference in the two bids, and we didn't feel comfortable that at least those who voted against it didn't feel comfortable that what was stated as the inexperience of Boyer versus Millis was worth the $1.6 million. And because it was presented in the agenda item as if it was only a $200,000 difference, that's why we did not feel comfortable moving forward. So I think, again, we're rejecting all the bids. I don't think there's any discrepancy there. But if I'm comfortable moving forward with a low bid, I don't believe that this work is really all that specialized that it needs, that somebody who's got some qualifications such as Boyer can't do it. So that would be my direction, and I thought I was pretty clear on the direction prior.
One final question from me. Is there any indication, now that we have this letter from Lynn Humphreys, that PMMD2 might not reconsider to the degree that they agreed to perform the maintenance ongoing, that if we don't move forward with the CSP, they might not be amenable to agreeing again to take on the maintenance costs?
I haven't had, I mean, I've seen just the letter, so I don't think Brian's on, or I don't think any direct conversations with them, but we'll ask them. I'm reading through the lines, but it sounded like they gave their recommendation preference. I don't know if they've been asked if they would refuse to take on that. I'm sure the proof's in the pudding. You know, that, you know, if we could provide that contract oversight that we referenced, you know, that'll be necessary with the low bid, that, you know, that they'll get the product. So,
Mr. Pearson, Matt Buchanan asked me to sit in on that meeting, and that there wasn't any discussion that they wouldn't do that. It was because they were going to maintain it, they preferred and recommended going with the CSP process, but there wasn't any discussion about not doing it at that meeting.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Yes, I mean, I'm with Perez, and let's go out for lowest responsible bidder and move forward.
So Darren, I guess the only question being, do we need, what's the action now at this point, if any?
Well, yeah, to reiterate, we currently have a motion on the table, again, to reject all the proposals and to provide direction on staff of the rebid. So there are two components to this action. It would, I think, you know, if we need to get some clarity right now. I've heard at least two individuals, maybe three, who've said they would like to proceed with the lowest responsible bidder. Want to see if that seems to be the sentiment of any other council members before we vote on this, because I think we may even want to amend the motion to clarify what the direction is with respect to the rebid.
Okay, or could possible to separate the two motions?
Yeah, I think you can. I think we can do it into an A and a B if you would prefer to break it out that way. There are two components to it, and so I think you could vote on two separate approaches to it.
Okay, I mean, if they're willing, I mean, we can vote on the rejection of the sealed proposals now, and then we can provide the direction and vote on that afterwards, just to get that part out of the way.
I think there's at least a first and a second for us to reject all bids and go with the lowest responsible bidder. So if I make a motion to amend as such, I suspect I'll get a second. We can get straight up and down vote on that. And Darren, if that fails, can we still continue discussion, or do we need to?
If the motion to amend would fail, then we would be back to the original motion and we could continue discussion.
So I move to amend my motion to include the rejection of all sealed proposals and then move forward with the lowest responsible bidder to rebid the project.
Second, Carbone.
Was there a second to that?
It was, Mayor. Ready to
Say
vote?
that, Mayor, this is what it Trent, can you come back and say it again, what you're wanting to do?
Yes, we are rejecting all bids and moving forward with a lowest responsible rebid of this kind.
Oh, so that's to come in and rebid it again, right?
Yes.
How much money do we lose by doing that? I mean,
We've already rejected.
I understand the clock's running.
We've already rejected the bid. That was in the last meeting. All this is doing is making sure that there's clarity of us about exactly what process they rebid.
If I could add just on the procedural note to clarify the question that was asked before that motion to amend was made. So now that we have a pending motion to amend and it's been seconded, if the vote to amend fails, we will be back at the other. If the vote to amend is approved and then we vote on that, we would not be able to come back.
Okay. That gets us the quickest
Motion
answer.
to reconsider.
Which is why I would like to separate the two.
It's really a binary thing. We've rejected the bids. Do we go back to lowest responsible bidder, or do we get to a weighted bid? If this fails, then we can amend the motion for a weighted bid, and then see if that passes.
So, Mayor, I'll call the question.
Let's vote.
We're ready to vote, Mayor.
And to clarify, we are voting on the motion to amend to reject all the CSPs and to go with the lowest responsible bidder.
Correct.
That was the motion and a second.
Member Perez,
Aye.
Member Owens,
Aye.
Member Orlando,
No.
Member Carbone,
Aye.
Member Little, Member Hernandez.
No.
The motion passes 4-2.
The amendment passed. So now,
As amended to reject all sealed proposals and to consider the lowest responsible rebid.
so now we can vote on the motion.
Correct. Okay, so the motion, let's see, Councilmember Perez,
Aye.
Councilmember Owens,
Aye.
Councilmember Orlando,
No.
Councilmember Carbone,
Aye.
Councilmember Little. Councilmember Little, Member Little,
Crystal, just so you'll know, I think his name is appearing as an attendee right now, but I don't know if he's lost his audio and video. It looks like he's trying. Councilmember Little, can you hear us? Josh, are you working on that?
Yes, he appears to be muting and unmuting, but let me see. Okay, Councilmember Little, how about now?
He votes aye, according to his screen.
We need to get some audio here.
Councilmember Little, if you can go to the under communicate and audio connection, just make sure you're still connected there.
Let the mayor vote by proxy.
Darren, he did write his vote on a sign. Is that communicative enough?
Unfortunately, under our current charter, which requires a record vote. There
he
you
is.
there?
Aye.
There we go. Councilmember Hernandez.
Just to state, so I voted no on the amendment, just because I don't agree with lowest responsible bidder, but to formally reject these bids and move the process forward, I will vote aye. Thank you.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-1. To amend the motion, to amend rejecting all sealed bids and going with, considering the lowest responsible rebid.
And just to clarify that, the motion as amended was approved, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Hey, Mayor, we're ready to proceed.
Y'all still talking about it?
Yes, sir.
Mayor.
Well, item number 9 says, Mayor, council issues for council discussion. There were none. And by turning the page, it says, item 10 is other business. There was none. And item 11 is adjourned, which I shall do at 8:18.
Thank you, Mayor.